I want to move to Austin, Texas, but what are some of the things that I should know and what are some of the things that I should avoid? Today, I'm going to share with you some feedback from people that have found me on YouTube like yourself, and they have decided to make the move. They either gave me a call, they shoot me a text, or schedule that Zoom. And today, I'm going to give you some of that feedback that they have shared with me when they came to visit, and then they either decided to stay and buy a house, or they decided to move on. Number one, you have to keep in mind that property taxes are higher here in the Austin area or in Texas in general. We're talking about an average of between 2% to maybe 2.7% tax rate, especially if you're looking for brand new construction. When it comes to brand new homes or brand new communities, the tax rate typically is going to be a little bit higher. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you will notice that I found a couple of communities that have a much lower tax rate below 2%. And those are and that tax rate hasn't changed. For example, the one in Round Rock is 1.75%. And then the one down south in Austin is 1.8%. And that is pretty good for a brand new community. Now, if it's more of an established community, typically those tax rates have come down unless it's in a mud or a pit. And that brings me to part two of number one, the property taxes. Be very, very aware, not that there's anything wrong with these taxes, although some people may have something to say about that, but be aware if your community, especially if it's a brand new community that you're interested in, is in either a pit or a mud, because that is an additional tax that's added onto your tax rate. Now, when you reach out and we decide on a community or two, I will let you know if these additional taxes are part of your community. But if you're doing this on your own, keep that in mind, a PID or a MUD. PID stands for Public Improvement District, and MUD is a Municipal Utility District. And one major difference between the two is that one is temporary, essentially, and the other one is permanent. But again, this gets added to your overall tax. Number two, and I get this a lot, and I've said this in a lot of my videos, Texas and even Austin, it is a car-dependent city, and there's no way around it. Anywhere you go, you're gonna need your car. Even if the store is just 10 to 5 minutes away, you're gonna need to get in your car, go to the store, and grab what you need. For example, we live probably with a car, we live about 4 to 5 minutes from the grocery store, but to take a walk, it's going to take a lot longer than that. And the sidewalks, we just, sometimes you go through some of the busy streets and we just don't feel comfortable, from the store to the house. So no matter what, this is something that you have to get used to. You're going to be car dependent. And with that comes an increase in traffic. And this could be number three, but let's just make it part of number two. But traffic congestion has increased. There's no way around it. Austin, if you really think about it, or if you see it on a map, Austin's not a huge city. And with the construction, with a lot of people moving down here, no matter what you hear in the news and the media saying that people are moving out, I don't believe that, because we get calls from you guys all the time about moving down here. But anyways, you get a lot of congestion, especially down I-35, Mopac, you name it. There's congestion, especially during the rush hour. But if you, on the weekends, it goes to show you how small Austin can be. On the weekends or during the day when there's not a lot of traffic, from Round Rock, from my house, all the way down to Zilker Park, it can take us 25 minutes, sometimes even less, if there's no traffic. And that goes to show you how small Austin can be, right? But regardless, you're going to be car dependent. If you have to commute to your job every single day, you will more than likely be stuck in traffic. But if you work from home or if you're retired, then you don't have to worry about that. And keep in mind, and you say, well, I want to be close to my job, but it all depends on your budget and it all depends where your job is. But, typically your commute's going to be anywhere from 30 minutes to maybe even 45 minutes, depending on where you live and depending on what time, you have to commute. Next one, some people think that they are going to need easy access or quick access to Austin, but they don't necessarily want to pay the price to being close to Austin. And then they realize that they actually don't visit downtown Austin as much as they thought. So that is something to keep in mind. Get really, really clear what kind of lifestyle you're looking for. if you don't need to access downtown and all the food and restaurants that you're looking for, because it is a foodie town, there's a ton of good restaurants around the downtown area. But if you don't need access to that every single day, like let's say 3 or 4 times a week, let's say you only do it on the weekends, then you can easily live in the suburbs at a much lower price point and not have to deal with the traffic of doing it during the week. Or if you don't need access to, for example, to Town Lake. I mean, if you're working, during the week, having access to Town Lake or to the Greenbelt down there may not be necessarily a necessity, so to speak. So that happened to some of the people that have moved down here, that they thought they needed access to be downtown, but then they realized that we don't really have to access it every single day. We can just wait until the weekend, and there's less traffic during the weekend, except for some areas. But yeah, get really, really clear on what you're looking for, and do you really need to have access to that and those amenities every single day? Can you just wait till the weekend to go down to Zilker Park or some of the greenbelt around downtown or some of the nice restaurants that are around the area? So get very, very clear on that. Next one, and to kind of piggyback on another one that I mentioned before, the distances. I got this from a couple that came from San Francisco, and then they decided to move back to San Francisco. And there's 2 parts to this. One is the distances. Some of the feedback that she gave me is that whenever we needed to go somewhere or go check out a spot, we just realized that it was a lot farther than we thought, or it took a lot longer. And typically they were doing this during the week when there's more traffic. But that is something to keep in mind. It may say that it's closed, but it may take a little bit longer than that because you hit traffic, you hit a red light, there's construction, things like that. And then another thing with that, especially if you're coming from California, if you're listening to me, or if you're coming from Seattle, Oregon, what else? Other states like that, Wyoming, Montana, places like that. And you're used to having access to mountains or the sea, or those kind of outdoor activities, or skiing, for example, which of course we don't have it here. But if you're used to that, Austin is not like that. And that is just being real, that we don't have mountains here. It is the only city in the state of Texas that has hills, and we have the hill country. This is, technically Austin is part of the hill country, or the beginning of the hill country. So you do have that, which is nice, but it's nothing compared to the mountains out in California, and it's nothing compared to the mountains out in Washington. And to her, that was very important. She was like, I miss the mountains, I miss the sea. So they ended up not staying here. But one of the good news is they kept the house and they're renting it, and it is fully rented. So if you're on that investor mindset, looking to perhaps build a portfolio, so to speak, in Texas that is booming, that could also be an option for you. They stayed here for about a year, and then they decided to move back. But now they have an asset, a house, in a very fast-growing market that they bought for a third of the price that they would buy it in California. And now that asset is producing income because I think they ended up putting more money down. And even though, and I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, but this is important, even though Austin is not a cash flowing market, you can definitely take advantage of the appreciation, which, as we know, it has done very well, especially in the last 10 years. But they just put a little bit more money down, and it's actually cash flowing a little bit. So, and that strategy actually happened by mistake. But if you're considering that, maybe you just come down for a year or two, and then you could perhaps move back if you miss the mountains too much. Another thing, the weather. I think a lot of people don't realize how hot it gets down here. And I've gotten this from clients that were actually moving from Connecticut or the New Jersey area, and they didn't realize how hot it can get up here, even though I've heard that it gets pretty hot up there. But and it can get humid, and it gets very, very hot, especially during the peak months of July and August. It can get up into the 105s, 108s, 110s. And then if you add on humidity to that, but typically when it's a humid day, the temperature stays kind of low. So, but when it's humid, it can feel extremely hot, like an oven, like a sauna. And that is just something to keep in mind. Me personally, and obviously a lot of people that live out here, we love it. I would much rather have that weather than to have the snow and gray skies and not a lot of sun during the winter. Because here in the winters, for, except for the random storms that we had in 2021 and 2022. It's sunny. It can be cold, but it's sunny most of the time, and you don't have to worry about the snow or the gray skies. But the weather can take some time to get used to. Also, and I actually had some clients from YouTube that were in town this past week, and one of the comments that the wife made was that the weather is moody, and that is true. Early in the morning, you may have to put on a jacket or like a light sweater, and then middle of the day, it gets humid and there's a downpour, and then by the end of the day, it's sunny and like nothing ever happened. And that is just the way the Texas weather is. It's just kind of moody. It changes very quickly. It could be windy, it could be sunny, it could be rainy. It just changes very, very quickly, and you have to be prepared for that. So that is something to consider, and some of the mistakes that people have made is that they think that the weather is perfect down here, and that is not the case. Next one, and I've been getting this from families especially, and I know that a lot of my videos, some of the communities that I've shown, they're either on their, around $300,000 or $400,000 or below. But when they come down and they actually go through the process of seeing these houses, and then they realize that the home that they actually like is actually a higher price point because it needs to check all the boxes of, enough bedrooms or higher ceilings or just many different things. What the point that I'm trying to make is that your budget may have to adjust, because you may have a certain budget of keeping it under $400,000, but those homes may not check off all the boxes. And this is the number one thing that I found out when they trying to keep it as low as possible, which of course that's the goal. Especially myself, we're not gonna try to force you into a bigger home. This is just what they found out through the process, is that the homes, let's say under $400,000, for example, they may not be as spacious, or they may not have enough space or the space that they needed in order to check those boxes to find the right home for them. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Just know that the price point that you have in mind, because it's Texas and you think that it's going to be a lot cheaper, and I'm going to find a home, a 5-bedroom, 3-bath for $300,000 because it's Texas and everything's bigger in Texas. Well, hold on a second. You're in Austin. And Austin tends to be a little bit more expensive than Houston and Dallas. But I know I'm biased, but this is the best city in Texas. And I'll say it, and I can debate with people from Houston and Dallas. This is the best city in Texas, hands down. Not a perfect city, but it's still the best city. But that comes along with a higher price tag. Even before COVID, Austin has always been a little bit higher price point than those other cities. So the home that you're looking for will perhaps be a little bit more expensive than in Houston or Dallas. So have realistic expectations as far as that home may just be a little bit higher price point in order to get all the things that you need for you and your family. Okay, here comes another one. When it comes to new construction, people have to realize, especially all this new construction that you're seeing and that I'm promoting on this channel, tends to be outside of the city. It tends to be definitely outside of Austin. It's in the suburbs, and sometimes it's not necessarily in the city center. It's more on the outside, on the outskirts. And some people that have come down here, or some people that find me on the channel, they don't realize that. And one of the things that you have to realize is that Austin is growing, and it's growing very, very fast. And a lot of the growth is on the outside. But just like if you look back at, let's say, Leander, or even let's say Round Rock, most of the growth was along I-35. But now Round Rock has so much more growth, either north, east, and everything has filled up, so to speak. Everything has filled in. So what I'm trying to say with this is that if you're patient enough, all these cities will have all the amenities that you need within time. You may have to drive a little bit. For example, Liberty Hill, which I think, and there's a video of Liberty Hill, a community that I found that you need to check out. Beautiful homes, quality builders in this community. But to give you an example, not a ton of amenities out there right now. But just like Leander, when a lot of people thought, oh man, Leander is all the way out there, why would I buy a house out there? And now everybody that reaches out here on YouTube, they want to go to Leander. Number one, because of the top ranked school districts, But then number two, because they want to be in Leander because they hear about Leander all the time. But if you look back 10 years ago, nobody was talking about Leander. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to be open, and you have to realize that a lot of these communities are outside of the city and they're not as close as you think. But the growth is coming, just like it came to Leander, and it's still going, just like it came to Georgetown and Round Rock and Pflugerville. And it's just a matter of time for, have all the amenities that you need and that your family would want. And one of the benefits of doing this is that you're getting in early when the prices are much lower. And then by the time, the community is built out, you will own a home in this fast growing community, just like Leander. Imagine if you had bought 10 years ago. And now the homes out there, especially for a lot of the families that find me here on the channel, these homes are around the $500,000 range and higher. Imagine if that home, even just 5 years ago, maybe less, was a lot lower than that, in the $400,000 or maybe even in the $300,000 range. So, and yes, I get it. COVID obviously helped a lot of that, but still, these communities are only going to grow in the near future and beyond that. Now, this is not necessarily a mistake or things to avoid, but something that's very real to Texas, and some of the feedback that I've gotten from people that have visited the city, it's and something to expect, even though some people may not be used to it and they may feel uncomfortable. But people are really nice down here, and that is just the nature of being in Austin. That is just the nature of being among the southern hospitality of Texas. We are all very nice. We say, hey, hello, how are you? And we mean it. And the only reason why I'm mentioning this is because I got that comment from a family that was down here, and they're like, man, everybody here is really nice. It's kind of weird. But that is the norm down here, and that is maybe perhaps something to get used to. Another thing, and this was part of a previous point about realistic expectations of what to expect with the homes and the sizes. So homes may not be as big as you once thought or what you were expecting. To give you an example, I had a client from San Diego that came last week, I believe, and he's under contract, and he's in an amazing community down in Easton Park. If you haven't checked out Easton Park, I'm gonna make a follow-up video, but make sure to check out my video about Easton Park, a beautiful community. Super, it's just a different vibe of a community, and you definitely have to check it out. He's building a home out there. And anyway, some of the feedback that he was giving me throughout the times that we were looking at homes, he came down with a friend, is that the homes that they were looking at, they were amazed by the size, right? He's like, man, in San Diego, I could not find this for this price point, or in Seattle, I could not find this for this price point. And it's just amazing that I can find it here. But at the same time, he was amazed by that, but then you get other people that are like, man, the homes are really close together, or the lots are not as big as I thought. The backyard's not as big as I thought, because this is Texas. I mean, you may think that, but like I said, this guy, for example, this client from San Diego thought that, there's so much more space here. The homes are a lot bigger, but again, it's a matter of perspective, right? Going back to the point that I made earlier, is that you have to have realistic expectations. I think that there's this notion that you're going to get a mansion for the third of the price, and that's not necessarily the case. As you know, Austin is very popular, and prices have come up, but still, you can still find something a lot bigger than perhaps San Diego or Seattle, just like this guy did. And now he's under contract because he shoot me a text and scheduled that Zoom, and we found him a house in Easton Park. Perfect house, amazing location, a brand new home. In addition, some of the feedback that we've gotten, and something to keep in mind, is the politics of the area. Austin has always been known as the blue dot in a red sea, and that's always been the case since the 60s and 70s, and that is perhaps something to keep in mind for yourself and for your family. Some of the feedback that I've gotten from people that have visited the area, they realized that, and they decided this was not the place for them. However, you will find out that it varies, right? Obviously, as you get closer to the city, that is the case. But as you get out into the suburbs, views change, values change a little bit. It's more of that rural feel, more family oriented. So it all depends on where you choose to live. But that is definitely something to keep in mind. That is some of the research that you'll have to do on your own, as far as, what kind of lifestyle you want to have for you and your family. But that is definitely something to keep in mind. As it comes with any city, no city out there is perfect. But if you're looking to move to the Austin area, these are some of the things that you should consider when it comes to moving to one of the fastest growing cities in the entire nation, which continues to grow because we get calls from you guys every single week about moving out here. Hey Julio, I just got a brand new job. I just want to move to Austin because I've been considering it for 3 years, 4 years, and I'm finally ready to make the move. And they shoot me a text or send me an email or schedule that Zoom, and we make it happen. But at the end of the day, it is up to you to decide if this is the place for you, and we can help you through that entire process, help you find that right house. Until next time, guys, adios.